there is a massive shift happening on the planet right now where humanity is shifting from 3D consciousness to 5D consciousness. So humans are evolving consciously. And all this information came from Dolores Cannon's hypnotherapy work, where she hypnotized thousands of people all over the world. And while people were put under this deep hypnosis, she was able to talk to their subconscious minds and what's called the super consciousness or the infinite intelligence. And so this is where all this information has come from about this shift in consciousness that's happening on the planet right now. Now, with this shift, she also talks about the Earth splitting into two different timelines. So she said that there's going to be the 3D Earth timeline, and then we're going to have the 5D Earth timeline. But she said not everyone is going to go to the 5D Earth. Some people will stay with the 3D Earth. So in this video, I want to share with you 3 things that you must do to go to the new 5D Earth. And the first one is to operate from your soul. So what I mean by that is we have the soul and the ego is the false self. And the ego is part of the mind. It's that chatter brain that's always talking to us. It's our identity, our personalities, who we are. And then we have the soul, which is the true self. Now, when you die, you leave the body and you are in your soul form because that's the true self. And the ego doesn't last forever. The ego's only, because it's your identity, your personality, it's only for this lifetime. And what the problem is that majority of humans operate from their egos. And it's the ego that keeps you in these lower frequencies. So this is Dr. David Hawkins' scale of consciousness from his book, Power versus Force. And if you watch my videos, you've most likely seen me share this before. Now, in this book, he talks about how 85% of humans calibrate below the critical level of 200, which is courage. So 85% of humans operate in these low negative frequencies. And it's because humans are unaware. Most humans haven't had these spiritual awakenings, so they don't know that they are this divine, powerful being. And so because they're unaware, they're just operating from their little egos. And it's the ego that keeps you in these frequencies. So as long as you're still operating from your ego, you're not going to move up the scale of consciousness into the higher frequencies. We need to learn to start operating from the soul instead. And so I'm going to share with you the difference between operating from the ego and operating from the soul so that you can have a bit of an idea of what it looks like to operate from both of these things. So here we have the ego versus the soul. The ego seeks to serve itself. The soul seeks to serve others. Ego seeks outward recognition. Soul seeks inner authenticity. Ego views life as a competition. Soul views life as a gift. Ego seeks to preserve self. Soul seeks to preserve others. Ego looks outwards. Soul looks inward. Ego feels lack, soul feels abundance. Ego is mortal, soul is eternal. Ego is drawn to lust, soul is drawn to love. Ego seeks wisdom, the soul is wisdom. Ego enjoys the prize, soul enjoys the journey. Ego is cause to pain, soul is cause of healing. Ego seeks to be filled, soul is eternal wholeness. Ego is me, soul is we. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of the difference between the ego and the soul. So to summarize, the ego is all me, my needs, selfishness. The ego gives us the illusion of separation. We're all separate beings. when in reality we are all connected as one. We're not actually separate. But in order to have the human experience, the ego allows us to think that we're these individuals with our own little personalities. And so this is why we don't want to have like a negative outlook towards the ego. We just want to understand what the ego is and what the job is. So the ego, because a lot of people operate from the ego, you may find that a lot of people operate from a place of being selfish or self-absorbed or all about me and my needs. And I'm not saying everyone's like that. Now, when you're operating from the soul, it's more about we instead of me. It's more about unity instead of separateness. The soul is more about unconditional love and compassion for others. And so we need to learn to start operating from this place instead. Now, how do we do that? So I'm going to give you two different things I recommend doing, which is, the first one is meditation. So meditation, I talk about it a lot in my videos because it is a really powerful practice that all of us should be doing. So you can use meditation as a way to get out of your head and get out of the ego. So as you go into a meditative state and you close your eyes and you disconnect from the external environment, the neocortex, which is part of your brain, will start dropping your brain waves. And as your brain waves drop down, you'll drop into theta brainwave. That is when you've broken through the analytical mind or the ego mind. You know, the internal chatter that never shuts up. When you get yourself into theta brainwave, the ego goes quiet. You have no thoughts, you have no thinking, and you just become pure consciousness, your soul. When you're in that state, you can then start tapping into these higher emotions, these elevated emotions. So once the ego goes quiet, you just start feeling joy in the body. You start feeling happiness in the body, gratitude. You just start allowing yourself to feel these in the body so you can condition your body to feel these emotions. And when you come out of the meditation, you will spend the rest of the day with the ego quiet, not chatting away at you constantly, and still operating in these like higher frequencies and these elevated emotions. So that's a great practice that I would recommend doing every day to start getting yourself just out of your head and out of that ego and connected to your soul and these higher emotions. And the second thing I recommend doing is also doing basically healing your ego. So majority of us are all walking around with the hurt ego, including me. Like, we've all experienced childhood wounds or traumas or things that have happened to us in the past that have hurt our ego, hurt our identity, hurt our personality. So by doing inner work, shadow work, and healing ourselves and healing our ego, that will help to clear out a lot of the rubbish and negativity in our energy field and help us to get out of these negative frequencies. Now, the second thing you must do to go to the new earth is reprogram your subconscious mind. Now, here we have a diagram that I got from Bob Proctor, and this is the mind split into two. So the top half is the conscious mind, the bottom half is the subconscious mind. Now, the subconscious mind controls 95% of your reality. So it's ruling your life, and the conscious mind only controls 5%. Now, your subconscious programming controls the vibration that your body is in. And the vibration you're in is what gets you your results in life. And so most of us have had this negative subconscious programming done to us. And because we've had negative programming, it puts us into a negative vibration. And so if we want to go to the new earth, we've got to change our vibration. We've got to raise our vibration. We've got to move our way up that scale of consciousness. So in order to change our vibration, we've got to change our subconscious programming. And so the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you act makes up your state of being, and that's what creates your reality. Now, your thought patterns, your emotional patterns, and your behavioral patterns are all controlled by your subconscious programming. They are all unconscious programs. So if you have thought patterns that are negative, like this is your programming, and then you have emotional patterns that are negative as well, as long as you have that, it's going to keep you in a negative vibration. So how do we change this programming? The answer to that question is meditation. So you can create a daily meditation practice that will be like two birds with one stone. So the first one I said was using meditation to get out of the ego and into the soul. And at the same time, you can use the same meditation to reprogram yourself as well. So what you do is you go into a meditative state. And as you go into a meditative state, your brainwaves will drop and you'll drop into that theta brainwave. When you're in theta brainwave, you're in your subconscious mind. You're in your operating system. So this is how you can change it in a powerful way. And so I learned this from Dr. Joe Dispenza, right? So what you do is you go into a meditative state and you've got to observe your programming. So observe what sort of thoughts you have, observe what sort of emotions you have, and observe your actions and behaviors. Now, before you go into a meditation, you can write these things down. Just answer like the question of, what are my daily thoughts, and write them down so you can become familiar with it. Same with your emotions. What do you feel most days? What are the main emotions you're feeling? Write them down. What sort of actions and behaviors do you have? Like, do you drink a lot of alcohol? Do you eat a lot of bad food? Write all that stuff down and then go into a meditative state and meditate on it, become familiar with all these things so you can become familiar of yourself, because awareness is key. You can't change anything you're not aware of. And then what you do is you reprogram new thought patterns, new emotional patterns, and new behavioral patterns. So you can write down, how does the new version of you think, feel, and act? What sort of thoughts does the new version of you have? So you write down, positive thoughts. What sort of emotions? Love, joy, peace, happiness, gratitude. What sort of emotions does the new version of you with this new programming feel? And then same with the actions and behaviors. And then as you go into a meditative state, you condition the body to feel these emotions. You start repeating these thoughts in your mind over and over again, these positive thoughts. You start observing in your mind these new actions and behaviors you have. And then through repetition, what you will do is you will rewire your brain and reprogram the subconscious mind. And eventually, you will change the programming, which will then change your vibration. So I highly recommend starting up this daily practice of meditating to get out of the ego, connect to the soul, to change your subconscious programming. And now we're going to go into number 3, the third thing that you must do to go to the new earth. So the third thing that you must do, and this one is really important, and that is forgiveness. You must forgive everyone that has hurt you or done you wrong. Because if you don't forgive, then you have karma, and that is what ties you to the 3D earth. So I'm going to share with you what Dolores Cannon said about this. I wrote it down because I didn't want to butcher it. I wanted to make sure I say it all right. So this is what she says. You can't go to the new earth until you get rid of all the old karma. That's what ties you to the 3D earth. You have to come back to repay it. You can't move on till you repay it. You've got to let go of the junk, the garbage, the baggage we carry around with us. You have to forgive. You have to release it. If you don't, you'll be back to do it again with the same people, same circumstances, but worse next time. You have to get rid of it. It's not easy. If the person has died, you can still release it. You can do it mentally. You have soul contracts with these people. She says, picture yourself tearing up the contract with that person. Tell them we tried, we really tried, it didn't work. See yourself tearing up the contract and throwing it away. You say, I forgive you, I release you. I let you go. You go your way, I'll go mine. We don't have to be connected anymore at all. And she said, you've got to mean it and believe it. So we must forgive all the people that have hurt us so that we get rid of our karma. And so I recommend doing her little practice that she said to do of visualizing tearing up this soul contract. Now, if you have trouble getting to the place of forgiveness, one thing that you can do is use what's called the reframe technique. And I talk about this in a number of my other videos because it's a really powerful technique and forgiveness is really important. So like Dolores Cannon said, you know, you've got to release these things. So forgiving someone that has hurt you is like, forgiveness is for you. It's not about the other person. And what forgiveness is it's an energetic release. So when someone's done you wrong and you're like, you've got that attitude of fuck this person because you haven't forgiven them, you cling on to anger and resentment. And you're hanging on to this in your energy field, in your body, in your subconscious mind. So by forgiving, it's an energetic release. You're releasing these negative emotions, which therefore will raise your vibration. And so using the reframe technique is simply just changing the meaning that you give things, because everything in life is neutral. There is no built-in meaning. It is you who gives things meaning. For example, someone may not like a dog because they're slobbery and they leave fur all over the furniture, so they give a dog a negative meaning. Then you have someone that loves dogs because they guard properties really well, they're really loyal, so they give dogs a positive meaning. So there's no built-in meaning. So when someone's done us wrong, we tend to give that a negative meaning. So we revisit the situation, whatever it was that happened. We look at how it served us. How did this situation serve me? What did I learn from it? What did I get out of this? And you find the positive in it. And then you're able to change it from a negative meaning where this person did you wrong and you were a victim to, well, I learned this from it. And you give it that positive meaning. And then you're able to forgive and let it go. And another thing that Dolores Cannon talks about is how Earth is a school, and it's a really difficult school. And the whole purpose of coming here is to learn lessons so your soul can grow and evolve. And so you learn lessons from these negative times, the bad times where the negative things happens to us. We don't learn lessons from the good times. So that's the positive and the negative, is that there's a lesson in it for us. So we look for the lesson. How did this serve me? Give it the positive meaning and let it go. Realizing that Earth is simply just a school. You're just here to learn lessons. And forgiveness is extremely important because that is how you get rid of the karma that ties you to 3D Earth. I hope you like this video. If you got some sort of value out of it, let me know by smashing the like button or write a comment. If you like this sort of content, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification. I hope you have an awesome day. Peace.